So I've now been recording original music and my album for about 6 months now. And I've had a lot of good days, I've had a lot of bad days, right? And I've found that on the good days, on the great days, I always take care of three main principles. And I've just called these the three P's for successful music making. Okay? Very crude name, I know, but it'll do, right? So I'm just going to batter through these really quickly. They should be able to help you. Um, just do it as a kind of checklist before you start recording. And this will completely transform your ability to make great music, which we all want, right? So, the first one is presence, cultivating a sense of deep presence, being rooted in the here and now. So, are you actually present while you're trying to make music? And this may sound like silly, right? Of course I am. I'm sitting there doing it, right? But you'll be so surprised how often your thoughts will be either in the past or in the future. The amount of times I've caught myself thinking about like what I'm gonna have for lunch or what I'm doing later on, literally while I'm recording a take, right? So I'm literally trying to record my music, right? And I'm in it, I'm playing, but actually I'm thinking about what I'm gonna have for lunch. It's ridiculous. And you'll notice this, the more that you cultivate presence, you'll notice how often you're taken away into the past and the future and away from reality, really, away from the here and now. So just watch out for that, right? Um, Basically, how you improve this is through meditation and just becoming more present, right? Throughout your day to day. So you don't have to always be like this Zen Buddhist monk, right? But just throughout your day, notice how often your thoughts are pulled to the past and pulled to the present, to the future, rather than just being here now, hearing the birds twittering in the sky or the cars as they pass you by if you live in a city, you know, feeling your feet on the ground as you're walking, feeling your breath. And, the most basic form of meditation is genuinely just take 10 minutes out your day, 5 minutes out your day, and just sit and become really present, right? And one of the portals into presence, right, is your breath. So just focus on how your breath is kind of moving your body, right? And you just notice it come in, you notice it come out. And then eventually, right, your thoughts will just get pulled away to either the future or the past, most likely. And what you have to do is just notice that you've been pulled away and then come back to the present. Notice you've been pulled away, come back to the present. And every time that happens, it's like doing a whoa, it's like doing a bicep curl for your mind, right? So you've now just gained some experience in presence and you've become a bit more present. You've done one big pushing movement for your brain. Um, I like the Plum Village app, which is from the school of Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a great Vietnamese Buddhist from, I think he died quite recently actually, maybe like a decade or two ago. But I love his approach, just dwelling happily in the present moment, and the guided meditations on that app and the fact that you can like kind of practice with the bell sound is great. The app's free, so you don't have to pay for like Calm or Headspace or something like that. There's no need why you have to pay for meditation, right? That's ridiculous. It's it's with you forever, right? It's just the present moment. There's no reason why you should have to pay for that. Um, the Calm app is very good though. I would recommend it if you like soundscapes and they've got some good stuff for sleep. There's also an app called Medito you could try if you don't if you want to start with guided meditations and then start guiding yourself towards the present moment. That's the way to do it. So how this applies to music, right, is before each kind of practice or recording session, just be aware if you're approaching it with intent and presence, or if it's just kind of becoming a means to an end, right? Because if you're approaching it with presence and intention and you know what you're going to do, you're going to find it so much easier to access your creativity and to achieve deep states of flow, which is when we have no thoughts, right? We're just in the present moment and we're jamming, right? We're coming up with songs left, right, and center. You'll notice that that'll happen. Sometimes a song will just, bleh, it'll just come out of you, right? In about an hour or something, and you've already got this full structure, lyrics, and everything, right? And that's what we're going for. It's not about how many ideas we can have in a day, it's about the quality of those ideas. So it's about how many great kind of creative moments you can have throughout the day, rather than the quantity. It's about the quality, right? Um, so yeah. Also remember to just pause every once in a while and kind of recollect yourself. Because you'll be surprised how like shallow your breath can get sometimes when you're playing instruments and you're kind of getting a bit frustrated, like you've got this part and it's just not working. Just remember sometimes to just take a deep breath, come back, and just have a bit more calm and ease about how you're going about things, you know? You might be rushing about the studio, grabbing this and that, and then setting things up and going, oh, just do it a bit more calm and easy, right? Just take your time with it, set it up, get it in the right position, you know? Pick up your guitar, tune it well, you know? Make sure you're tuning it by ear as well as using a tuner. Um, and just have more ease about how you're approaching it, right? So that is presence. And the rest of the P's, so that's the first P is presence. The rest of the P's are all affected by presence. And to be honest, your entire life is affected by how present you are. It is the determining the determining factor in the quality of your life. It's how present you are for it. Are you showing up for the one life that you've got? Or are you dwelling in your mind rather than here? So the next one is patience. And this is just learning to, there's a bunch, right? So one thing that I normally have is when I start my recording sessions or I start my creative work, I kind of have to sit in the eye of the storm for a while, right? So I've got all this resistance to doing it, and you just have to be aware with it and sit in it, right? So just be like, okay, yeah, this is going on. I've been here before. I know how to deal with this. And then after 15 minutes or so, you'll usually find that it passes and you'll start getting into deeper states of creativity and you'll start enjoying it a bit more. But you've kind of got to get through the bushes, right? And you'll have branches snapping back and hitting you in the face. You've got to climb that hill. You'll trip up a couple times, but you just keep going, and then you'll find that it levels out. And then you start building some momentum. Now we're going downhill, things are going good, we've got some parts getting recorded. So this is how it usually goes. And you just have to have the patience to get through it. Okay? So just be aware of your state of mind and the fact that those thoughts probably aren't your own. You do want to be doing this creative work. It's just that it's difficult and your mind wants the path of least resistance, whereas this is the path of greatest resistance. So it puts up a fight. But once it knows that, hey, we're going to have to suck it up and deal with this, you're usually fine after then. So this is simply just resistance trying to prevent you from becoming a higher version of yourself. And like all things, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So you trying to move up in life and become your highest self, which is a creative being, there's always going to be this opposing resistance to it, right? So you've just got to try and overcome that and you'll be fine. you also have to be okay with having 1,000 bad ideas before you get that good one. We're kind of searching through piles of mud and shit for these nuggets of gold, right? So the good ideas don't come easily. You've got to suffer for them. They are attained. You have to deserve them. So you have to get through it, get through the mud and the dirt, and you'll find that, sometimes you get this little nugget of gold. It's like going about on the beach with like a metal detector or something. You're gonna pick up can after can after can, or just pennies and stuff. And then suddenly you'll come across this like World War II relic or something. I don't know. Just for an example. And obviously, presence affects this tremendously. Being able to remain calm and just okay with what's going on is determined greatly by your presence. Um, just be like a master fisherman or something, or like a Zen Buddhist, just at peace with himself. But you're gonna have to cast out that line. You might be waiting for hours, days, who knows? But you'll get there if you have patience and persistence. You'll get there, and the creative ideas will come, and the good ones will come. But you have to be patient. So also remember that you have to be patient with yourself. And this comes down to like your mental health and stuff. So you need to have self-compassion sometimes. I notice that for me, sometimes I start beating myself up if I'm not doing as good as I think I should be doing, if I'm not getting the parts, and it's like recording your original music's already tough. You don't need to start getting in your way even more and start blaming yourself when things aren't going well. Like all forms of art and self-expression, it can be quite soul destroying at times when things aren't going well, because your art and your creative work comes from the deepest part of yourself, comes from your subconscious and your soul, really. So it's no wonder that it can cut so deep and hurt so much sometimes. Um, but you have to remember that this is also why it's the most rewarding thing that you can do as a creative person and creative artist, right? Is because it's self-expression from the deepest part of yourself. You're helping humanity and even the greater, community as a whole understand itself deeper. This is why art matters. There's some things that can't be expressed through words, that need to be expressed, and this is what our art is. Um, so this is why it's worth the suffering, and just remember that, and you'll be fine. Just have self-compassion, right? Um, so that's patience, the second P. And the final P, last but not least, is play. Don't forget that you're playing your instruments. We play music. We don't perform. I mean, you might be playing Carnegie Hall, right? Or something like that, but the best artists are still playing. It's a deep sense of play. Don't reduce recording or practicing your instruments as a means to an end. It is the end itself. It's not a means to an end, okay? It should still be fun. This is why we do it, right? It's a source of deep play. It's rest, really. And if you lose this, you lose the joy of music, and your music will suffer, and it won't sound as good, It just won't. Um, Definitely try and get your parts practiced and refined and ready to record, but do not reduce them to mere parts, right? Um, make them like robotic and stagnant. They still need room to breathe. They need to be able to grow of their own accord. Always allow room for creative interpretation. So sometimes, and you may find, right, as I have found 1,000 times, okay, the best ideas come accidentally from mistakes. is always from, it's when you mess something up and then you hear it and you're like, oh, wait, now that is a nice, like, you might play the wrong note on the piano or you're making this little harmony, but then it like, you hear that little bit of dissonance from playing the wrong note, but it's like, mwah, that chef's kiss on top, in the melody or the harmony, or maybe a weird rhythm, that you accidentally come up with by playing it wrong. This is what you need to be aware and present for. Um, so this comes back to presence, right? Um, and when you have these moments, you need to be able to capitalize on them and allow them to come into your music. Have just allow it, play. Let these things happen. It does come across in the recording if you are playing your instrument or if you are merely performing a part. There's a big difference, okay? And what this is for me, right, is like when you hear like the Beatles or something, you always hear these little nuggets and them just kind of messing about in the studio. They were famous for that. Famous for that. They were always just having fun, messing about in the studio, and it comes across in their music because it's fun. Like Maxwell's Silver Hammer. I mean, that's a bad example actually. It's a very fun song, but I'm pretty sure the Beatles were suffering mightily when they were trying to make that, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think John was very keen on it. Um, but yeah, like songs like All Along the Watchtower, for example, Jimi Hendrix is playing his heart out there, okay? That doesn't come from mere performance and monotonous kind of playing at the same time over and over. He was just jamming, something like Voodoo Child. Where does that come from? That is a deep sense of play. That is where your deep creative roots are. So don't reduce playing your instruments to performing parts you're playing, okay? If you lose the fun and it starts to become tedious, it's probably time to have a break, right? There's a fine line between patience and positive persistence, and being overly incessant and just suffering for no reason, right? And the part's not going to come. You've exhausted your creative abilities, right? So be aware for that as well. That comes back to presence again. Just notice when it's getting tedious and ultimately a bit pointless to continue, and go and have a rest. Go and have a coffee, go for a walk, and then come back to it recharged and re-energized creatively. This is where your best ideas are going to come from, and it's where great recordings come from. You'll be surprised how great a listening break can be for your music. It's sometimes it's really crazy. You'll be like, wow, that's mental. I didn't even hear it that way about 10 minutes ago, and now I've just gone outside, come back, and I hear it completely differently. So yeah, that's the 3 Ps. We've got presence. So just cultivate a deep sense of presence. This is affected by meditation, many things. Just try to be present throughout your day, right? The more present you are, probably the more happier you're going to be, right? Because you're just here. You're just, there's nothing to cause you a problem. What problem do you have this very moment? Problems are ultimately your own causing, right? And it's from the past or it's from the future. It's because you're looking at things through a lens. But what problem do you have just standing here and breathing? None. Second P, patience. And remember to be self-compassionate with yourself as well. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with music. Be patient with creativity. It takes time. This stuff takes time. Be patient with trying to record an entire song and an entire album. Be patient with your career as a musician. It's going to take time, okay? Good things require development over time. The most meaningful things require development over time. So have patience, right? That's a great quality and just to have as a person. Third P, play. Just play, man. Have fun. So as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this was useful. Please let me know in the comments. Feel free to ask any questions. I'll always get back to anyone in the comments. And I love hearing. I love hearing. Do you have any more P's? Let me know. There might be some more that I missed out on, right? So yeah, just remember that the time will never be perfect. So create today. Okay? Peace. See you later. I can't find the camera button. Okay. Okay, I found it. See you later.